I'm 6'6". That's what's going on here. 6'6", which is a lot of Jew. That's like 2 Jews. But I must admit that despite this rather imposing, one could argue majestic physique, I'm not a man's man. Unless the man was Michael from Michael's Arts and Crafts. I think he would like me. I love Michael's. I call it classy Joanne's. Joanne's is nice, but it's always in disarray, whereas Michael's is always in array. I grew up in the 1970s, which was not very accommodating to sensitive boys. I think I would have made a great millennial. They're much more accepting and because to put it in millennial terms, I have a Gryffindor body, but a Hufflepuff soul. Thanks. I'm sweet. In the 70s, just kids were so mean to each other. I remember I played junior high basketball, and even the cheerleaders were antagonistic, I felt. They would chant, "Be aggressive. B-E aggressive. Gary." And my theory on why millennials are nicer to each other than we were growing up is that millennials grew up much better hydrated than we did. Like, water just was not a consideration in the 1970s. Now, I'm not an old man comedian who's gonna say, we didn't even need water. We needed it desperately. Walked around dizzy and listless all the time. But a lot of times I wouldn't get my first sip of water until Thursday. After gym, the teacher would march us down to the drinking fountain, and the entire experience was fraught. How so? How was it fraught? Well, water pressure in 1970s public schools was so weak, so flaccid. You had to make love to the drinking fountain to get a full quench. But if you got that close, it tempted the cretin behind you to smash your skull into the steel spout, which was considered a prank in 1978. Now it's properly classified as felony assault. But in the 70s, that was just shenanigans. The teacher wouldn't even interrupt her countdown, which, because of budget cuts, classroom sizes were enormous. So the teacher, this was her countdown: 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, 3 Mississippi, goodbye. And I would get so outraged. I was 7 years old, but I was very precocious. I think you would have loved me. I would protest. I would say, "Mrs. McNally," that's her real name. I will protect her no longer. She didn't protect me. I would say, "Mrs. McNally, it's not Mississippi. It's Mississippi. You're costing me an entire syllable of hydration with your pidgin English." But you want to know something, Mrs. M? How appropriate, how apt that you use Mississippi to carry out this unjust drinking fountain policy. That is precocious. To have that firm a grasp of Jim Crow legal doctrine at 7 is like the epitome of precocity. It's so great to be back. Thank you so much for having me on. Good night, everybody. Thank you.
Hilarious. That was hilarious.
Thank you so much. You're a good man.